Yo, what's up, guys? I actually haven't been playing around that much with my newest LD5. I think she's really good. She's really cool. This is not our normal set, but this is the set that we're going to be using for this video, which is a pretty high crit damage and attack combination set while still having a 100 crit rate. I do really like her kit. I think she's incredibly cool, but the issue is that her passive is kind of weird, where this is really focused on taking a turn 1 snipe, whereas this is really focused on getting a prolonged match and then from there starting to kill your enemy. The combination of the two of them just makes things super weird, where it's not really that great of a unit, and it's in common sense just better to use a Sonya or a Water Siri or a Rigna or anything like that if you do want to go for a snipe. It does help out a good bit against the Terranese meta, against Terranese where the fight is a little bit longer, where it starts reviving. She's definitely good with the other two skills. After the balance patch, I am going to be reruning my account and I will give her a proper set, which is going to be her standard set. But I just kind of wanted to see how much damage can she do the moment she's at 200% or 200 extra speed. I don't think it's 200%, it's just 200 extra speed. With pretty low speed at the base, very high crit damage and attack. And we're going to be using the skill 1, because the skill 1 is the only actual speed scaler, whereas the skill 2 is just a speed threshold scaler. And what does it mean to be a speed threshold scaler? It means if you're 100 speed faster than the enemy, you're going to go for an ignored defense altogether no matter what. So if you're a 101 speed faster, it's still 100% ignored defense. If you're 500 speed faster, it's still 100% ignored defense. Whereas this will actually scale from the speed to do more damage itself. Too bad that the skill 3 isn't speed scaling itself. If there was something of a little bit of sustain or anything extra in that skill 3, it would have definitely been really good. So we're going to create a scenario where I have some units that are going to be tanking, some units that are going to be providing a lot of buffs, and then going to go for a insane hit. At least that is the game plan. So let's see what we can do to actually create that. First of all, I need something that can tank her, which is not going to be that easy. So we're going to have a little bit of an interesting team. We, of course, have triple fights throughout on these 3 units. You're going to be my main tank against these units on the right. We're, of course, going to get the Deborah in for a little bit extra damage. And we have a pretty tanky Rune itself as well. Then, of course, we have the Brigitte or the Light Siri, doing as much damage as possible. And I will be hitting the units on the side just to see like how much damage I do on like various different styles of like how much HP they have. So let's see if this, first of all, works. First of all, we got to go for a few stacks. I think that she can tank long enough if they don't go super heavy on fire procs. So that is turn 1. Okay, they do hit a decent amount on that unit itself. I'm not sure if I'm going to be getting to 4 turns altogether myself, but or 5 turns even, because this thing is not being super tanky. Well, let's actually get in this for a little bit of tankiness on that. We can get a little bit of healing over here. So this is hit number 2. Well, Jesus, wow. Can you calm down on that, Rina? You're nearly killing that Rina already, okay? You're kind of killing this thing as well with your Vio procs. So that was just turn 2. So we're definitely not there yet. This is going to be turn 3. That's already a lot of damage. Also, I'm not really able to tank that thing as much as possible. Well, let's actually just take this thing out. It's dealing the most amount of damage, because I'm pretty sure with one just skill 1. Holy hell! What the fuck was even that? No attack buff, no speed buff, no armor break, no nothing. Okay, I think that this is stack number 5, ain't it? Yeah, that's stack number 5. So from here, we can actually start dealing the proper damage. So let's give this. I don't have armor break just yet, so I have to be waiting for your armor break. I'm not sure if you're going to be over tuning that for a few turns as well, but let's just see no armor break. What are we looking at? 17Ks for the first few hits. Wow, that's absolutely insane. Looks like you're not lapping that, which is good. Hopefully you don't... Okay, make sure that you don't die. I wouldn't be surprised if you start lapping still. You do actually lap. Okay, and I'm not sure if this S2 would kill that right now. 36k per hit. That is absolutely bonkers, by the way. Oh, we did lose the armor break and we did not land the death break. Or the armor attack buff, but... Wow, okay, let me redo that to try to get like the proper rotation in where we do enough damage. I do think that I want to remove this thing as well. It was doing a little bit too much damage for my liking. Do we have something else that doesn't do as much? You probably don't do as much. And let's give that another try. It is a little bit of a difficult... whoops, I actually said that as proper defense. Let's not... we just do that for a second. People that find me on the defense right now, you'll have an easy hit. That thing can actually armor break. That's not a great take, but let's just see if we can get that in there. Yeah, I should not be having anything in there that actually does armor break. That's not really recommended. Let's maybe go for you. Yep, tanky as well. Can definitely work a little bit better. Okay, let's see if we can get the right moment, the right situation, and the right stacks to get enough damage in with an armor break as well. Because that's the main thing. We do in the end want to get the armor break in. So that's a one hit. Now let's go for more healing. It's definitely one of those units. The moment she's max stacked, she does so incredibly much damage that it's just nearly insane and impossible to tank. It's just in RTA matches, she never really gets to the amount of stacks because you have to build her tanky enough. She has to do a lot more of versatility. She has no sustain in her own kit or anything like that. So it just becomes a lot harder to get those proper stacks in there. So I think that this is number 4. Yep, that's number 4. Let's not just do that as of yet. We can already go for this one. That's not an issue. I think we already set up the armor break as well because the enemy is not super fast. I think that would be fine as well. The moment that you move, okay, that's a little bit of damage. This already hit 5. It's already where we do see a lot of damage coming in. Can we land some of the armor breaks? We did have an armor break on the right side. Hopefully you don't go for healing right now and do that. Okay, so we have a 5 stack right now. This unit has a very low defense, and it's going to be an insane hit. So let's see how much we're looking at. We're looking at 138k times 2 into a double... What? Wait, let me actually calculate how much that is. That is absolutely insane. We're looking at a 400k plus hit right there. That is absolutely fucking bonkers, man. Holy shit. Let's see this. Rune is very high on defense. It does have like plus few thousand defense. So definitely a lot more than the one over there. Let's see how much we do hit over here. Okay, 69, but that was still some shield. 82s into double 40s. Wow. That is a lot and a lot of damage. Let's see how much we do without the death break. I do want to get my attack buff back if I can actually get there. Okay, you do have a few miscrits because of that thing itself, but I think I'm going to just skill 1 kill this nearly already. No, it doesn't actually fully kill on skill 1. I expected a little bit more damage out of that right there, but still that's a lot and a lot of damage. It's just the difficult part of where it's really hard to get this thing stacking in. Of course, a lot of these things are kind of the Deborah showcase because Deborah just does an insane amount of increasing of the defense break. But then again, hitting 400k on this unit, that is absolutely bonkers. It's just too bad where it's pretty hard to get this into a fast stacking rotation. Because normally in Siege, you would use it something like this. And then you would be hitting something like this with the Tyrannies, and then you can do something along these lines. So you could go for a combination like this, which is this. But of course, the big issue is with this kind of speed, you're never going to be able to hit this properly. So and your first turn is the one that actually matters most. So let's put this to a normal set. And therefore we will be looking more at a set like this. I do recommend to go for very high speed increasing effect because that's what you get on the first turn. And therefore you don't have to go as much speed but still get to pretty good thresholds where you definitely will have 100 more speed than the enemy. So let's showcase how a proper match would work like. So we do hit a Gildy over here right now. So we would hit this with the typical Sonya kind of team. Pretty easy kill. You can kill this one over here. Also 80k, way more than enough damage. We have a 17k to work with right now. If he starts proccing, that's still totally fine. So skill 1, skill 1. This is where a Mieng might be a little bit more in trouble to actually kill this in the first place. But here we're doing like double 8ks throughout all of that. So it's definitely not an issue. Well, he can go into a bunch of procs right now and all of that kind of good stuff. But we start stacking more and more. If I went for an S2 right there, I would have guaranteed killed. But I can't, of course, do the S2 on you. Let's just go for some more S1s just to get the idea of like, okay, we're just stacking more and more. He's getting those skills in. But at some point, I'm stacking so much speed on this unit over here that we're going to be starting to hard lap already. Like, as you can see, we're starting to hard lap. And that's where she becomes really good. And that's where you can go for another rotation. And that's where also the cycle of skill 1s just become very good. Only issue is you can only really properly do this into a team where you do have no speed lead on the enemy side. Such as these kind of teams. Pretty much the same principle. It's pretty easy for this to beat. But the moment you add any speed lead, it becomes a lot more difficult. And that's also the point where I would say that I'm not too sure if not just going for a, what's it called? The Mirenay? No, not Mirenay. Mieng? Mieng is just often like a lot easier to get through. Also, you do want to put speed increase or additional damage by speed on this thing. Helps to make this kill over here, but then again, all of those 8Ks definitely do make the kill pretty easily itself as well. We do already have more than enough stacks for another round of S2, which would go for an ignore defense, especially if there's a slow in there. And then you can see it's like a super easy cleanup from there. But then again, is this team not already based on just you being pretty good, like the Sonya already being pretty good? Let's see if we can make a team where we do it the other way around, where we use a Mieng, we use the Brigitte, but we do go for a Adriana next to it still, but where we could go for a Mieng in that left slot. So it would be looking something like this. I think if you do want to use it, you probably are going to be bound to hitting a little bit slower targets. Slower targets are always a lot easier. But let's say that in this case, we're hitting something like this. It is a little bit tricky with this unit guaranteed hitting that, and I do have to kill you first, but let's just kind of see what's the vibe on if you were to hit something like this. Because in this case, she's definitely not going to be moving anytime fast if I do want to have proper enough runes on her still. So what we could do is, if we do this right now, that would be very tricky. So I think we still have to go for this skill over here. You could be hoping for a Vio proc over here, but that's where you see it gets very dangerous. That's not really what you would like to do if she is the main target right after, and if you have to kill something double. So that's kind of the place where she becomes a little bit weird. Of course, if you were to use anything else, well, if you were to use Rigna over here, you have like the double, what's it called? You have the double or the triple water, and then it would become a lot more doable. So let's see we kill this. Like, she can definitely kill anything. Maybe you should actually kill this so you don't get any buffs, because now she goes for the, or he goes for that kill. But as long as she doesn't die, the cleanup becomes super simple. Well, that's actually where we do lose a lot of speed right now due to that Oblivion. And we're not going to get the extra follow-up hit. So, like, yeah, losing her passive is definitely a thing. You could also kill this in the middle first and then make your way work from there. So there's definitely still a few options where you could say like, hey, this team can kind of work, but she's just kind of in a weird spot where I don't see her being used all too much. I'm curious to see where you guys would actually use her. I do have one other team where I think she's actually really good at, maybe even better than the teams I've been showcasing before. But I already have a way better setup for that unit, which is a different LD, but I think this might actually be, the following team that I do might be the actual best team out there. So we kill that, you don't have full stacks, you don't have attack buff, speed buff, and then we can go for a clean up from here. So I do hope that you kill, you don't actually kill. Do we start lapping this thing double right now? Well, we could at least do this. That would lower the damage output by a little bit. Yeah, still kind of tricky, but let me show you the team, which I do think she might actually be in the absolute strongest position. And I've actually never tried that because I have a different option for that. And what is going to be that different option? Which is the Ian team. I normally always use Ian in this, but actually you can use a Covenant in here. You can use anything that actually single target ignore defense. You can use that in here. So there's a lot of options that you could actually go for putting in here, which might also go for the Light Seer being very strong. So in this case, the amount of speed, you can definitely go a lot lower on the speed because you're not going to be needing this much speed. You start off with a speed buff, but you really have to keep in mind that you're not dealing as much damage as you normally would. So in this case, I would definitely say try to up the amount of crit rate or the amount of crit damage and attack that if you can. But just for the sake of it, lower it a little bit on the speed, a bit more on the crit damage. Let's just see if this kind of team would work against this. We do have a double kill over here, but not a triple kill. You kind of need a triple kill to actually make this fully work, so it's not the best of options. Ian, of course, would do way better because it actually spread through this thing. But let's just kind of see what's the vibe of this team and how would it work. So, of course, we start off with a skill 1. That's the thing where this thing is a little bit too fast, and that is not recommended. But then again, I wouldn't really use that team against a team with an Odin, because the Odin you have to kill twice fast in a row. And Odin starts with the the attack bar that he lost during the death. So in that case, you'd rather have something that goes for full-on revive. So let's see how that would work over here, because I do think I can kill both left and right. In this case, I would probably say try to aim for some damage increasing artifacts on the element that you're trying to hit. So in this case, dark, if we're trying to hit that, good damage, definitely good damage. Second rotation is, as always, stronger because you do have the attack buff. So we go for this. Oh, you actually start cutting. So in this case, you're actually too fast, because normally you give the attack buff as well. So yeah, too fast, but still does more than enough damage actually. So normally you have like a little bit of a better rotation, but too much speed increasing effect on this thing. But I think you kind of need the speed increasing effect. So we do get provoked over there. I think I have enough speed by now to start lapping every time, which is the point where it does become very strong as well. So this is also a team, if you don't want to use your Adriana, I think that this might be a pretty nice team to be using. You just have to be a little bit careful with the speed increasing effect. I think I added in a little bit too much speed increasing effect. Still have to keep in mind the speed increase should be higher than 100% or like 100 more speed than the enemies. Otherwise, you don't do a full ignore defense. So let's see if we tweak that a little bit to, let's say we have this left side of 21%. Let's go for a full damage on dark or something, because the first target we do hit is dark. And we could go for speed increasing on you. Would that make sense? No, that doesn't make too much sense. No, I think that this should be fine already, because this one did move in front and that one didn't. So let's see if this is going to be enough speed where the full rotation does work. So of course we like to chip a little bit of damage on the target we mostly hit. I'm not really sure why that's revenge, but that's kind of interesting. Let's see for that second skill over here. We actually do a good amount more damage. That's actually good. Pretty sure that we can do this on self right now, and we would lap middle. Middle this have a little bit of speed increasing effect. No, still actually laps. Okay, then we would have to put speed increasing effect on you as well to actually counteract the speed increasing effect that's on this thing. So let's actually do a little bit of that. So I think that that is a must to do, just because this unit is stacking too much speed by itself, and therefore you might actually have to go full on out on this speed increasing effect, because there was a few extra turns on the other ones. You do miss the additional damage by speed, which in technical sense is the best for the skill 1. But in this case, if you do have speed increasing effect on this one, I'm pretty sure that would work. But as I said, I normally always do this with Ian. If I didn't have Ian, I would probably be looking at using her. Or you could also go for the light, or not the light, the water series, because water series in this position also does pretty good. This one technically is a little bit better because you care less about the Terranese being hitting you all the time. And yeah, that's actually kind of the main thing. Like the Terranese not hitting you. And I would say your cleanup is a little bit stronger. So in this case, yep, do move in front. We can give the attack buff. We do have all of the buffs right now. And we hit that 80k. And from there, we can easily go for a cleanup. Of course, he revives 117k heal. But that is definitely not that big. Also, we don't have the hit on ourselves right now. And this is where the Rigna already, or not the Rigna, the Brigitta already put up way too much speed of stacking. There is a decent amount of attack on this one altogether. And that's why you just start heavily lapping, heavily dealing damage. You could go for like 3 procs right now, get another revive in. Really doesn't matter. There's absolutely no way of losing this. So if you do have a light series and you haven't been really using it too much, this is definitely one of those options. But the issue for me is Ian is simply better at this, because Ian completely ignores the passive. And Ian sure has a lot lower damage. That's 100% sure. Like the common usage that I do for the Ian is on my absolute best set, which is looking like this. Which is definitely a good amount of attack more, good amount of crit damage more. But I have to focus more on crit rate because his awakening still goes into the, what's it called, the resistance. But if you go for this kind of setup, you will notice the first hit. So I was doing about like a 61k without attack buff. And I was doing double follow-up hits of like 8k or something like that. If we see the damage on Ian, we're looking at 40k. It's not even killing, right? So that is actually an interesting one right there. It's not even killing. That's how tanky this unit is. And that's where you definitely see the difference, where this team is a little bit in shambles. I'm not sure if I can still recover from this actually, where I wouldn't be killing that in the first place. So if I go for this one over here right now, I will hit this one. And I think that my Jemire still might have like a proper hit off to, yep, still win. So that's the cool thing about also having your Jemire properly ruined in this, because your Jemire might deliver like the final blow. But this is what I mean with the extra 600 or the 600 per hit that you do right now. If I had speed increasing or additional damage by speed artifacts in there, I would have done a lot more damage over there. But then again, you rotate a little bit around and you go for another piercer. But in the end, it is not too bad to go for that series. So I definitely want to be bringing in a series on a proper hit itself. But I haven't really been doing that yet. But I also just wanted to showcase that very first hit, doing 400k damage. That's an insane, insane hit. Big issue is most of the time you're not going to get to those 5 stacks because she's a cleaving type of unit and she already used all of her turns to kill everything. So they did already change where it was a 20 per stack and now it's a 40 per stack. So they went from 10 stacks to 5 stacks. But the best part would be that if this unit had any form of survivability, because getting those 5 stacks is difficult, there was any survivability around this unit. You saw the same thing with the Zeratul. Give it a little bit of survivability, insta super meta. And that's what I would hope to see for this unit as well. By all means, it's still really good in siege offense right now, but it would be pretty cool if it was a cool RTA unit too. So maybe leave some buff in the balance patch. I don't know. Just wanted to test her out a little bit more and also just kind of give a feeling if I do want to give her a proper set after the balance patch when I do my full reruning on my offenses again. And yeah, she does deserve a good set, especially because she does also have this guilty content. And maybe I want to stack up on one more Adriana because I feel like that I can use another Adriana if I do also want to use that Siri a little bit more serious. Could also use a little bit more of those. It's a good combination with more Rignas or Water Series or Sonias. I do have 3 Sonias right now and 1 Water Series, so if I added another one would help, but I also would have had to have another Adriana at first. But then again, in Siege, there's a lot of options right now to use a lot of Adrianas. Well, hope you did enjoy this video and hope to see you as always in the next one. Thanks for watching. If you would like to see more guides, join the Discord and check out the content tab for the guide video archive, which contains all of the guides that you might need. Hope to see you there.